The clip dropped without warning, a brief yet revealing moment that sent shockwaves through the fans of the young and the restless. It was a scene so dramatic that it could have been ripped straight out of a late-night thriller. Jack Abbott, the once steady patriarch of the Abbott family, had been kidnapped, his fate hanging in the balance as Victor Newman once again flexed his power. But what was even more explosive was the tension building behind closed doors, the scheming that was about to unfold, the betrayals that were simmering beneath the surface. Inside society, Audra Charles stood facing Holden Novick, her arms crossed defensively. She had learned to guard herself in this town, learned that no one was ever truly trustworthy. And Holden, with his charm and his promises, was no different. He had approached her more than once, offering her drinks, offering her a chance to make a deal, but today she was done pretending to play his game. "No thanks," she said, pushing his drink offer aside once again, her gaze unwavering. Holden only smiled that knowing smile, but there was something behind his eyes, something sharp and calculating. She knew him too well by now to believe his friendly gestures. He leaned back in his seat, the comfortable leather creaking beneath his weight. "You sure about that? You look like you could use a break. It's not every day you pull off a big win." "Save it," Audra snapped. "I didn't come here for small talk, Holden." "Always so direct," he mused, his voice a little lower now, a little more serious. "Look, I know I'm not exactly your first choice for an ally, but maybe we could make something work. You've got your hands full, and I've got a few tricks up my sleeve." Audra raised an eyebrow. "Tricks? What kind of tricks?" Holden didn't hesitate. "We both know Kyle and Claire have history. If we wanted to, we could easily drive a wedge between them. You and me, we could team up, make sure that connection is history once and for all." The words hung in the air for a moment before Audra let out a sharp laugh. "Are you serious?" Her voice was steady, but there was a crackling fire in her eyes. "You want me to help you destroy Claire and Kyle? For what? To benefit you?" "You've got a better idea," Holden shot back, his expression shifting to one of cold amusement. "What's your plan, Audra? You're not exactly sitting on top of the world either. A little chaos could help both of us." Audra stared at him for a long moment. Holden was always so damn persuasive, but she wasn't stupid. His words had a way of twisting things, making his goals sound noble when really, he was after his own agenda. "I don't need your help to tear people apart," she said, her voice sharper now. "You'll get nothing from me." Holden leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "You might want to rethink that, Audra. This is just the beginning. You can either be part of the solution, or you can watch from the sidelines while I take everything you want." She didn't flinch. "I'm not afraid of you," she said, but even she could hear the slight tremble in her own voice. "So, if you're done with your little schemes, I'm going to get back to business." Holden smirked. "Of course, I'll leave you to your business," he said, the sarcasm thick in his tone as he stood up to leave. "Just remember, I'm always around when you change your mind." As Holden walked away, Audra watched him go, a chill creeping down her spine. She didn't trust him, not for a second. But Holden had a way of getting people to do things they regretted. She wasn't going to make the same mistake again, but part of her, deep down, knew she was already in too deep. At the Abbott household, the conversation was darker. Billy Abbott, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Kyle Abbott and Sally Spectra had gathered at Billy's place, their faces drawn tight with worry as the news of Jack's kidnapping spread. Billy had been the one to deliver the message. Victor Newman had taken Jack, demanding Chancellor in exchange for Jack's safe return. The air felt thick with disbelief, confusion, and something darker that no one dared put into words. Billy was the first to speak. "Victor, playing some sick game. He's got Jack and now he wants us to hand over Chancellor." Sally stood by Billy's side, her expression tense, but her eyes locked onto Billy as she squeezed his hand for support. "Victor's capable of anything," she said softly, the weight of the situation sinking in. Kyle frowned, running his hand through his hair. "We're talking about a twisted chess game here. Victor could be bluffing. He could be making this up just to get us to cave, but we don't have proof that Jack's actually in danger." Billy didn't buy it. "Victor doesn't bluff. If he says he's got Jack, then he has him, and this time he's playing for keeps." Diane's voice was cold. "You all know what this means, right? If we give him Chancellor, we lose. This is a game Victor has already won." Sally turned to Billy. We can't just let Victor win, we need to take action, now. But Diane cut her off. And what do you suggest we do? Go to Victor and beg for Jack's return? Billy looked up, his eyes narrowing. No, we need to take this to Nikki. But Diane was adamant. Nikki can't help us, she'll just get more involved with Victor's games. He's not going to listen to her any more than he listens to us. Kyle looked at Diane, confused. What do you mean, Nikki, been in Victor's corner forever? Diane's eyes darkened. She's the reason Jack's in this mess. He saved her life and Victor blames him for it. He's holding Jack hostage because of Nikki, and she's too busy defending him to see the damage he's causing. The tension in the room thickened. Billy stood in silence, trying to process everything. He understood the gravity of the situation. His father was being held by Victor, and the family was caught in the middle of a twisted game, but he wasn't ready to give up just yet. We don't have time for this, Billy said finally. We have to do something before it's too late. We can't wait for Nikki to get involved, because by the time she does, it might be too late. Diane's voice cut through the air like a knife. The only option we have left is to give Victor what he wants. If we don't, Jack might never come back. Kyle stepped forward, shaking his head. No, we're not giving up, Chancellor. There has to be another way. Billy stared at him, a mixture of frustration and disbelief on his face. There is no other way, Kyle, not when Victor's holding Jack hostage. Kyle's fists clenched, his jaw tight. I don't care what Victor says, he's not going to win this. We'll figure something else out. The tension in the room reached a boiling point. Everyone was on edge. No one knew what the right move was, and the clock was ticking. But one thing was certain, no one was willing to give up without a fight. And as for Jack, wherever he was about to learn just how far his family was willing to go to get him back. The days dragged on, and Jack's captivity grew more unbearable with every passing hour. He could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The world outside was moving, and he was stuck in the dark, confined to a room with nothing but his thoughts and the occasional cold glance from his captors. Victor had made his demands clear, Chancellor in exchange for Jack. Jack didn't doubt that Victor would carry out his threat. He had seen the man do worse for less, but there was something more insidious at play. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that Victor wasn't just holding him as leverage for Chancellor, he was trying to break him. Come on, Jack, you know how this works, Victor had said earlier, his voice cold and commanding. You give me what I want and I'll let you go. You refuse and you stay here until you learn to play by my rules. Jack had refused to show fear, but inside it gnawed at him. He wasn't about to give Victor the satisfaction of breaking him down, but the pressure was mounting. Back in Jenga City, the Abbott family was falling apart, caught between loyalty, fear, and their own moral compasses. Billy's call to Nikki had been met with resistance. She wouldn't budge, not on Victor's side. It had only fueled the fire of frustration within Billy, and the consequences of that were evident in the way he handled every move in the game. Diane, now seething with anger, turned to Kyle, her tone sharp. You think you're going to outsmart Victor, Kyle? Do you think this is a game? Jack's life is hanging by a thread and you're playing chess. Kyle stepped back, but his resolve was clear. We're not giving up, Chancellor, not for anyone. I'm done, Diane had spat. Billy, you have to make a decision now. It all came down to the same question. What price would they pay to save Jack? And in that question, the Abbott family would either rise or fall. The stakes were higher than ever. Billy's eyes hardened as he paced. Victor, not going to break us, he muttered, but even he knew the cost of that belief might be more than they could afford. But the game was far from over. As Jack waited in his cold, dark prison, one thing was clear: the Newman family wasn't finished yet, and the Abbotts weren't about to back down either. The moves were being made, the game was on.